This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yeah. Should you practice art? Or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master. The one that's more than a rapper. The one that's an educator. The one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts. He's got the mindset expansive. He understands that his time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan.
Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is Comics Today, a show that we do on Wednesday to celebrate the best day of the week, that being New Comic Book Day. And as part of this live show, we come together, we talk about some news and current events, things that are top of mind for me, might also be top of mind for you. We talk about the new books that have come out that you all may have picked up that others should be checking out. And we typically have a guest or two on to help me to make sense of something that is happening in the world of comics and collectibles. And we are going to have a guest on tonight's show that is going to do just that. I also have two announcements that I'll be making. Today is an awesome day. Let me tell you that today is an awesome day, and we are going to get to all of that and so much more, including whether Apple is actually going to buy Disney. This is something that has been kicking around since the 2000s, and we are going to spend a little bit of time during this show, later in the show, talking about that and whether that's actually a good thing, because there are some people out there that are like cheering for this, and I honestly don't really understand why, but we are going to talk about that in a hot second. I want to go to the chat to see what it is that you guys may have picked up at your LCS. So if you picked up some books, let me know what you picked up. If you've read something that is good that we should potentially put on the top of our reading stacks, I want to know that as well. And if you want to shout out your LCS, feel free to do so. At 6 o'clock, just about 1 hour ago, the UPS driver showed up at the house, and I have been waiting on the UPS driver for about a week now, but they just showed up with copies of Isolation issue number 4. And I will tell you, it looks pretty darn good. This is issue number 4 right there, cover by Delia Gunderson, the very talented Delia Gunderson. Don't worry that I'm manhandling this one. You will not get this one. It has a slight defect, so nobody's going to get that one. That's cover A. I think that this is cover B right here. Really awesome cover, and you can see, do you see that gloss? Do you see the gloss on this homage cover? It is gloss. The gray wolf here is gloss, and the isolation, the word isolation, is also glossed. It is a double homage. It's a double homage. I'm pretty sure you guys that are DC fans can figure out what it is a double homage to. Really, really cool book. I think they use extra thick cardstock on this because this cover for this book is robust. I will tell you that. I did a little bagging and boarding while I was waiting for the show to begin, and this one was a little thick. I'll tell you that. Here's the premium cover, and it turned out incredibly nice. This too has some gloss and a little bit of an embossment as a result of that on a matte finish. It turned out incredibly well. Delia Gunderson did the cover for this, and it honestly, it looks better than I even imagined that it would. A really talented team that has put this together, and there is something in the back of this issue that we are going to talk about tonight. That is part of the reason why I had to do the announcement today before I started mailing all this stuff out. But we are going to get to all that and a lot more in a second. Let me go to the chat real quick to see what it is that you guys may have picked up. If you hit your LCS, I want to know what you picked up. No, this is the old Gibbon shirt. This is the old Gibbon. There is a new Swoldier shirt that says Swoldier across the back with the American flag on the right sleeve. This is a cool Gibbon shirt. I had these made, I want to say last year, I think. Tina, from a cold perspective, I am feeling much better. I was down probably for about 2 weeks. I wasn't quite right. And if you watch my videos, you could probably tell from my voice that I wasn't 100%. But I injured myself. Now I'm feeling better from the colds, but then I injured myself, and there may have to be surgery. There may have to be surgery. I have an appointment on Friday. We'll see what happens. And if you pay attention in my videos, you may actually be able to see what's going on. But yeah, I do like this. Smash it. Just go ahead. I saw a couple of comments in there about smashing the like button. Let me see. Doug, it is always good to see you. My man Wellbore is up in here. Tina, the OG, is always up in here looking for what it is that you got. Kenny, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. Scrolling down, let me know what it is that you guys may have picked up. Aaron's on the board. Aaron's the first one here. Let me acknowledge that. Yes, it is ungood. It is ungood. I was in so much pain last night that I literally could not sleep. I literally was, and I never have a problem sleeping. Got up and it was not working. It really wasn't. Alan's on the board. I'm sorry, Aaron's on the board. LCS shout out is Alley Cat. He picked up Dark Tower and Challengers, all Chicago. Oh, those are all shops. Those are, brother, did you pick up a title? Did you pick up books, or do you just go from shop to shop, just socialize it? I mean, I don't blame you. I've done it. But shout out to Chicago. Let me know, Aaron, what it is that you may have picked up at your caravan to the various comic shops there in Chicago. Somebody just dropped a super chat. I'll scroll down and get to that one. Man, I hope I don't need surgery either. Somebody invited me to be a guest on their show, and I was delayed in getting back to them because I was very uncomfortable and just I wasn't responding to comments and social media and all that kind of stuff. I finally was feeling a little bit better. I was able to respond back to the person. They were like, "Can I get back to you? Because I just had surgery." And they sent me an X-ray, and I was like, feel better, message me back. And now I'm in exactly potentially the same situation. We will see what happens on Friday. Everybody keep your fingers crossed for me. I definitely appreciate that. Pastor, you have to drop one of those G's, Pastor. I welcome all prayers, as does my father, who uses 2 G's, but this Reggie just uses a singular G. Shout out to JFA. You cannot go wrong. You can't go wrong with that. Picked up the Last Mechanical Monster graphic novel. There you go. Doug's on the board. It's good to see you, brother. Thank you for dropping that up in here. What brother, I'm gonna be honest with you, Rob. I don't know what you're talking about, Rob. Somebody's got to translate what Mr. Rob Boswell is talking about, because I don't know. I don't know the reference there. So you have me at a disadvantage, sir. You have me at a disadvantage. Dave, did you see it? Dave, check it out, brother. It looks more better than we even thought that it was going to look. Dave, do you see it? It is fantastic. It turned out well. 6 o'clock, UPS was on the doorstep, and I was pumped. It took me a lot longer to unbox this stuff than I wanted, but I got it done. But Dave, it turned out incredibly well. Scrolling down through some of the comments here, Liger says, I bought books. What is it? I picked up Here's Calico 1 through 6. Good read and supports animal abuse. We had H.H. German on the channel. I want to say once or twice. I can't remember. H.H. has been on, I think twice he's come on. What's really cool is that he was basically doing Kickstarter for Calico. And now Calico has actually been picked up by Diamond. So Diamond is now going to be handling the distribution. I want to say H.H. German kicked off a Kickstarter for a manga style comic, I guess, or for a manga style graphic novel. It's probably a better way to say it, featuring Calico. I have not checked it out, but he's doing some good stuff, and it is good stuff to help with animal abuse. I don't know how much of his proceeds go that way. I cannot remember, but he is definitely making donations and contributions to help protect animals. Scrolling through, Aaron says, saving money for Fan Expo Chicago. He said, no. So you did a caravan. Did you do a caravan, or you just shouting out LCSs? Either way, I'm good. I hope you go to Fan Expo in Chicago and have a good time, brother. Find some good deals and pick up some really awesome books. Scrolling down through some of the comments here, Billy, this is not a name that I recognize. Billy, welcome to you. If this is your first live stream, let us know that so we can greet you properly. He picked up some really cool books, including something from my cousin, Gene Simmons, Avengers, Ghost Lore, Heat Seeker, Superman Annual, and again, Gene Simmons, my cousin, also cousin of Russell Simmons. Scrolling through some of the comments here, seeing what else you guys may have picked up at your LCSs. Chris Bigger's on the board. How you doing, brother? I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for Glossy Flossy. I wasn't ready for that one. Scrolling down to some of the comments here. Let me see. Scrolling through. It's a song from okay, got it. It's a song. Okay, I figured that it was a song. I didn't get the reference though. Barnstormers #2. So far, it's a good series, says Frog Brawler. Frog Brawler, I need you to send me an email, brother. You signed up for a membership here on YouTube. And as the first person to sign up, I have a package for you. So make sure you send me an email to reggie@regiecollects.com so I can bundle something up. I need your government name and your mailing address. And I got some stuff for you here in the room that I've set aside. Chuck is on the board with a long list. What is that? Grab Danger Street, Star Trek Motion Picture, what is Batman, Scooby-Doo Mysteries, Blue Beetle, Graduation Day, Bloodline, and Airboy 1 through 6. A couple of cool things there. Chuck, it is always good to see you, and I'm confident that your LCS loves you, my brother. There is no doubt about that. Scrolling through the comments, I am way behind. Scrolling through, trying to catch up. Special thought for a couple of people out there that have suffered some losses as of late. There are several people that have lost loved ones and or animals, which are, to be honest with you, a little bit of an extension of extended loved ones. Thoughts to all of those people that have lost people as of late. Fall of X is amazing. And it needs to be on the top of the list, says the pastor. There you go. We got somebody shouting out a pretty good read. There you go. Liger Styles on board with that. But Liger Style seconds everything. So I don't know whether to take that as an honest thing or not. Maybe we need somebody else to co-sign that one. Shout out here to Wild Wild West Comics in Fort Worth, Texas. The Madness by AWA was very good. Miles Morales, Avengers, and a couple of other books in there. AWA has put out some really good stuff. I've enjoyed some of the stuff that they've put out. I think they just struck a deal with maybe the estate of someone. I haven't been keeping up with stuff. I haven't been putting out as much content just because I've been in a little bit of discomfort. But I want to say AWA has recently signed a deal with somebody, but they're doing some really good stuff. So fingers crossed that they continue it. So there you go. A lot of people, man, look at their pets as parts of the family. There's no doubt about that. Unconditional love, no doubt. What is it? House of Slaughter, Spawn Gunman, Miles Morales, and picked up a bunch of Conan variant covers. There you go. Matt Woods is living his best life right now. He's living his best life. A lot of Conan discussion going on right now. So for folks that came in late, we have a couple of announcements that we are going to make. One of which is the fact that Isolation issue #4 has shown up here at the house. This is cover A. I think that this is cover B. I could be wrong. No, I think this is cover B. I think that's cover B. If I got it wrong, you guys have my apologies. This is the premium cover. Really, really nice cover. Both of those by Delia Gunderson. This one right here by Adam Shermer and Dave Bratton, who is currently in the room right now. Really cool double homage cover right here. I am going to spend some time bundling up orders and getting them processed as soon as I can. What I will say are the less complex orders are going to be the first ones to go out. And I say that because Doug actually either has received or will be receiving a bunch of copies of some of these books to actually sign them and send them back to me. Once I receive the books from him, I will process the more complicated orders that involve books with signatures. So if people placed orders simply for cover A or something like that, I'm going to process those first. So be a little patient with me. I will get these out as soon as I can. The goal was to get them out in July, and we are definitely behind the schedule on that, but we are working to make the magic happen. And again, thankfully, everything actually showed up, I think, in very good shape. I've gone through a couple of the boxes so far. Everything looks good. So fingers crossed we can continue that. All right. So the other thing that I wanted to hip you guys to, and again, it was important for me to cover off on this, is that when you get your copy, if you order Isolation, there is an ad. There is an ad in the back of Isolation for my second title. The second title from Swoldier Publishing is dropping soon. We'll get to the soon part later, but Marcvs is coming, and we spoke very briefly about this several months ago, but we are so much closer right now. And I say that because 24 pages of roughs have already been completed. 24 pages of roughs, basically pencils, have essentially been completed, and we're in the process right now of doing the finishing pencils. Now, what I will tell you is we try to speed things up, so we do our roughs and our lettering at the same time. Lettering is already done for all 24 pages. The roughs have already been completed for all 24 pages, and we in the process right now of doing the finishing pencils. So to that point, I wanted to invite the writer. I wanted to invite the man behind Marcvs on the show to spend a little bit of time talking with me about this. So I want to welcome to the show right now, Scott. Scott, how are you, sir?
Doing excellent. How are you guys?
Brother, I cannot complain. Well, and now here's the thing. I have a lot of issues and a lot of problems. Will not complain about those things. We will just soldier on. How about that?
Well, hopefully everything goes well and you heal quickly. So
brother, it'll be one thing or it'll be the other. It is fingers crossed that it's not so surgery worthy, because the rehab is brutal, you know.
And I've learned as I've gotten older, as soon as I pass the 50 threshold, and I'm now 54, 53, going on 54, it takes a little longer every single time to recover.
Are you really 53?
Oh yeah.
I did not know that, brother.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You hanging on. You hanging on good.
Well, it's the hair. I
Yeah, I don't have that problem. All right, let's move on. Scott, it is good to see you, brother, as always. I mean, we talk a couple of times a week, especially now that we've been working ever so diligently on Marcvs. For those people that may have missed your previous appearance on the show, because I think you were on very briefly and we spoke about it, how would you go about describing Marcvs to someone that has not heard anything about it?
So the best way to explain it is Marcvs was written as sort of a high action historical fiction with little splashes of mystery. The series basically starts with a reporter who's embedded with troops in Afghanistan that's looking into this mysterious power figure in the region. And after a failed assassination attempt, he finds himself sort of entangled in this much larger situation between these two immortal figures. And one man is looking for atonement while the other one is intent on bringing about the apocalypse. So
there you go. So you described it as, you said high action, mystery, and there was another adjective in there. What was that other adjective?
Historical fiction.
Historical fiction. There you go. I want to write that down because I referenced it a little bit differently, and I think it's similar, right? But I highlighted the biblical parts that you've included in the books, and you would translate that a little bit into historical, which is very much the same. Military / action, that's how I characterized it, and then mystery. So very similar in terms of the high notes. When you take a step back from what you just described and what I just repeated using slightly different words, that is an interesting mix of genres. Would you agree with that? Like, how did you find a way to tell a story connecting those distinct genres into a comprehensive story?
Well, I can
magic. Just say magic.
I could definitely say that you creativity hits you in different ways, right? So I'm an artist. I went to art school. So from a creativity standpoint, when I have to come up with a new logo design or, an ad or something like that, it just kind of pops in here and there. Myself, I have a love for history, myth, legends, conspiracy theories. So, a lot of those things, and I, the story itself sort of just kind of came into my head and kind of, went and I was trying to find different things and different, areas to put it all together. I love Roman history.
Yep.
And one of my favorite podcasts is the History of Rome. Fantastic podcast, and it, very historical. And I always thought, I also love the some of the like Britannia and some of those other series that are out there, and I thought they were pretty cool. But again, it was one of those things where this story just popped in my head. I don't know why, but it just sort of came there, and I started cultivating it into what it is today.
And so the question is, like, did you sit down and well, let me back up. So as you were noodling this story, as it was coming into your mind, was it, let's sit down and just write this out, and it came out the way that it came out? Or was it, let me write it out, and then you revised it and you updated it and you tweaked it and you added a layer of this, that, and the other to it? Like, was it just straight out the gun this way, or was it a layering of different things to enhance what you were trying to tell?
No, it definitely was a layering of it. I mean, I think the script that we have for issue 1 is the 7th revision of the first script. So I have a tendency to be a little verbose when I'm writing. So we definitely had to go through and say, yeah, we got to cut down on the dialogue here. So it's this pouring out of what I want, and then we sit there and cultivate it down. And I don't ever want to lose the intent of the story.
Yep.
But I definitely wanted to make sure that we were hitting on those things and just giving a good product. I mean, it's always been, a dream as a kid to have your own comic book, right? I mean, anybody who's a collector, when you were a kid, I guarantee most people would say, I'd love to have my own comic book and, get that thing going. And myself, I'm an artist, but I learned very quickly, I'm not a sequential artist. So I'm not the guy, every time I draw something, it looks a little different. And that doesn't work real well when you have to have panels and characters that look the same.
Yep.
So, but the creative process, I've always loved writing and stuff like that. And like I said, history. So, it kind of fell in perfectly that way.
So for those folks that are coming in a little late, I am sitting down talking right now with Scott P., who has worked as like the layout guy for the Guide to Smart Comic Collecting, for Isolation. He has now written a comic called Marcvs. It is going to be the second title that is going to be dropping from Swoldier Publishing, and we are talking a little bit about that issue. Scott, I want to get to the collaboration between you and the artist a little bit later, but you've already hit on a couple of things that may have inspired your work on Marcvs. If you had to identify a couple of maybe current or even past comic book titles that may that people could maybe look at to see, yeah, I read those titles and now I kind of understand Marcvs maybe a little bit. Are there titles that you would throw out there for people to think about?
Sure. So if I give a little bit of a background on Marcvs himself, so some people might not have heard of the tale of Marcus Longinus. So there is a historical character or person named Marcus Longinus. And if you look in the Bible, there was a Roman centurion who stabbed Christ with the spear when he was on the cross. Now, the tale was that he did it out of an act of mercy so that Christ didn't suffocate on the cross. So, but he was blind in one eye, and when he stabbed Christ, the blood that fell down into his face cured his blindness. But also, there is a tale that he also was made immortal, and he has to walk the earth until the second coming. So he is to be the first witness of the second coming of Christ. There's been a few different movies that have referenced him. One of the movies that certainly comes to mind is The Seventh Sign. In that movie, I think they call him Taflis or something like that. In 97, Heath Ledger was in a series called Roar, and it was a Fox series, and in that series, Longinus is in that series. They're searching for the Spear of Destiny because that spear became the Spear of Destiny. And then DC's Legends of Tomorrow even had that as part of it. Now, the Spear of Destiny, some people might not know, Hitler's SS had an entire division of the SS that was dedicated to finding religious artifacts.
Yep.
And the Spear of Destiny was at the top of their list. And most recently, if anybody saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the Lance of Longinus is in there. And it was kind of funny when I saw that movie. But, this has been, apparently, if you held it up at the front of your army, you became undefeated. You would be undefeated. But to talk about books that sort of reference it, I would look at the Old Guard, sort of, with the action and the immortality portion of it. Berserker might have some rings to it, a little bit of that, again, the immortality, the military action, and everything. But I would say there's another book that was out by, and I'm not a big DC guy, but DC Comics had a series out called The Light Brigade in 2004.
Okay. And
it was in World War II, and these soldiers were fighting basically the Nephilim, the fallen angels, and one of the soldiers, you find out, is Marcus Longinus, and he has the sword of God, and they fight. It's a really good series. I highly recommend it if you want to check it out. I think it's like 4 or 5 4-issue series, but the Light Brigade, it's pretty cool.
So you were in the military, right?
Yeah, I was in the Navy.
Did that in any way help you to write some of the action and battle scenes and dialogue in Marcvs? Did that lend itself to it?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, friends of mine were in Army and stuff like that, but yeah, a little bit of the military background certainly helped out.
Yeah. There's a lot of curse words, so I was just
well, I am an old sailor, so
I mean, I will tell you, even though Swolder's putting this out and we put out Isolation, there's some curse words in there. I mean, it really, and I saw a couple of people in here commenting that it sounds like an interesting read. It really is. From the first moment that I read the first script, I knew that there was something special here, and we went through several revisions of the script to like tighten it up. And every revision, it got better. But then the other thing is, and Scott, I want you to comment on this. We've pulled in Chase Cowan, who is the artist for Isolation, was also selected to do Marcvs as well. And you've been collaborating with him as well. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration between you as a writer and an artist in your own right, and Chase, who is an incredibly talented artist? Like, how has that collaboration gone with the two of you?
It's gone fantastic. I mean, again, like I said, I have the pictures in my head, and I would love to be able to do all of them myself, but I certainly can't. When I saw Chase's artwork in Isolation, I knew he had the perfect style for what I wanted for Marcvs.
Yep.
And it has flowed very well. I'm also not as rigid. I would hope as a writer that I know what I want, but I also know that there are some limitations and things that I need to lend or, give Chase the artistic freedom to make some changes to the script to, for him to draw those scenes.
Yep.
So there are a few scenes that what I wrote, they're different, but I really like some of the changes that he said, the suggestions that he's made, and just the overall flow, I think, just ran so much better working with him. And certainly being open to say, hey, show me, if it doesn't work, I want to know, because I want to put out a good product. I want people to see it and really like it. So, you know, when we get feedback, I'm first and foremost to listen to that and say, okay, let's see what can we do? What changes can we make? And how can we make this better? So,
and I think that's a wonderful point, because I mean, you were receptive to my feedback. Like, I've given you a lot of feedback about tweak
sure.
this, tweak that. We've had a back and forth. Some of my suggestions you've taken, some of them you haven't, and I'm fine with that. But I like to discuss it, and you've opened that door to Chase as well. And I remember there are things that he's brought up where he's like, "Hey, how about this? Hey, what about that?" And I think, you know, everyone that's on the team has added something to the book that has
Oh,
made
sure.
it better. Even our letterer Beth has
Yeah.
also chimed in on things and made suggestions, and you've received that and you've made modifications. Do you want to acknowledge, maybe not necessarily the specifics of Beth, but
Sure.
what it's been like to collaborate with her as the letterer and an artist, because she too is an artist?
Yep. No, Beth has been fantastic. There's been certain parts where we've been able to tighten up the story and the intent. You know, again, if we make changes, I still want the intent of that part of the story to be there.
Yep.
So we've made some changes and some script. Again, I am verbose, so she has helped help me minimize some of the dialogue that's there.
Yep.
But it really works well, and the team has been just amazing as far as giving feedback, and, you know, us going back and forth a little bit and saying, okay, let's make these changes and these revisions, and then getting them back and going back and forth. It's been a fantastic process.
I haven't worked with a writer yet that is not verbose. Just throwing that out there for Doug, who's also in the chat. But I mean, there's a reason why you are verbose, right? The goal is to write out a wonderful story so that the letterer and the person drawing it can understand your vision, right?
Mhm.
They don't know what's in your head, so you have to put it on paper so that they can see it almost as well as you, right? And then once they see it, then they can start to make those tweaks to maybe we change this, maybe we do it this way versus that way. And I think that that's where the magic happens. And as long as the writer, both you and Doug, are the same way, you guys listen to the feedback, you make the adjustments, and in the end, the story that gets told is so much better. As I mentioned to folks, so for those folks that are coming in late, I'm sitting down talking with Scott P., who is the writer behind Marcvs, a new title that is going to be dropping from Swoldier Publishing. It is actually, cover A is actually available right now on swoldierpublishing.com. But we are talking a little bit about this book that we are hopeful will be dropping in October. That's what we are aiming for right now. Now, while we don't have covers, we don't have any covers just yet. We do have, I do believe, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, roughly 24 pages of pencils and content that has already been illustrated and lettered. And what we are working on right now are the finished pencils. That's correct, yes?
The finished pencils and inks. So we have the first page of finished artwork is done, and I gotta say, it knocks you right out of it knocked me out of my shoes, right, the first page that I saw.
It's incredible.
Because it really jumps out at you. There's an
incredible.
image on there that will, you just sit, your head goes back and it's like, wow.
I was staring at it today. I was like, this first page, it won't be the first page you see when you open the book up, right? You'll see something else on the first page, but the first true art page, incredible.
It's stunning.
It is incredible. And you and I may have to arm wrestle or something for that original art when we do it, because it is striking. But I want to show people, I have one of the rough pencils, and I think this is page 3 and 4. I tried to pull up one of the rough pages to kind of show people what we were working on here. And this is a splash page, right? No, not a splash page. It's a spread, page 3 and 4. And you can see that this definitely is a military-inspired comic right there. Scott, is there any comment that you can make about this that won't reveal a ton? And maybe is this the page with the interactive elements?
I believe this one.
Is this one or no?
No, well, it originally was going to be on this one, but I think we made a change to that.
Okay. So
but
do you want to talk about this page, and then we'll get to that next point here in a second?
Sure. So this is again with the character in the series is a reporter. He's embedded with troops in Afghanistan in 2010. So that's when, you know, this is in at an actual base called Purtle King base that was in sort of northern Afghanistan. So it really, I mean, when you see, you know, the pencils and everything, you know, it's kind of small here, but when you see everything, it really touches, because I tried to grab pieces, images and whatnot, and pass those to Chase to say, here's what the base looked like.
Yep.
You know, I have pictures of the base. Here's what the base looked like. Here's some of those different elements, you know. So he did a phenomenal job, as you can see. And this is just, these are the roughs, people. This isn't even the finished work. So when I got the roughs, I was like, oh my goodness, this is
better than I could do. But wait until people see the finished pencils, because they are going to be incredible. Again, this could be somebody's comic or pretty close to it, right? In terms of like where this is. But the finished pencils will be incredible. But I got ahead of myself. I got a little excited. You have done something slightly different with this comic. And I want to say you originally raised this issue with me maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, but you've integrated into Marcvs some interactive elements. Can you talk a little bit about that interactivity and the rationale behind why you chose to do that?
Sure. So throughout the book, there are going to be QR codes that are part of the artwork. So the QR codes will actually take you to video. They will take you to songs. They will take you to different interactive elements. And my idea for it was, it's technology. Utilize technology. Enhance a comic book. Comic books are great. They're wonderful, but they could be so much more. When I read a comic myself, I soundtrack the comic as I'm reading it. So I'll think of different songs that kind of go with this. And I think a lot of that idea came back when, you know, at a very early age, when I read The Crow, and James O'Barr put like the lyrics to a Joy Division song or something like that. And Rick Remender for Deadly Class had entire playlists, like a mixtape in the back. And I was sitting there going, that is fantastic. Why is nobody putting a QR code in books?
Yep. Because
you literally could jump out. I even wrote to Ross Ritchie at Boom Studios when Berserker was announced. And I said, Keanu Reeves plays in a band called Dogstar. Have him create his own music and put those QR codes, put a QR code that links you to that music. And it, you know, again, it's a cycle of just keeping people engaged in the comic in a whole different way.
Yep.
So these QR codes, again, are going to be taking you there. The songs, I mean, again, they're songs that you hear on the radio and stuff like that. I always thought of those as sort of when you bought a record or a CD and you had the liner notes. Those sometimes gave you a glimpse into that artist or creator's mind when he was doing that project.
Yeah.
These are the things that they were thinking about when they wrote those lyrics.
Yeah.
So as I come up with ideas, I like to listen to music, and some of these things are going to link to exactly what I was listening to or hearing while you're reading it. You're hearing the same thing that I did whenever I wrote it. So,
and it's a cool thing. I mean, we played around with this with the guide to smart comic collecting, right?
Oh
That's
yeah.
where we started to use the QR codes. And I think it was even before that that you made mention to me of QR codes, right? And then
Yeah.
I think during the pandemic, everybody was using QR codes. So it gave me a lot more confidence to use them. But then it was a perfect tie-in for this comic. But again, we're going to have these QR codes that are going to jump to videos. They're going to jump to songs. They're going to jump to some other things that we are not going to talk about right now, but we will get to a little bit later. But they're going to be integrated into the artwork. So when you're looking at the art, reading the story, you will have an ability to break out your phone, your camera, scan that QR code, and listen to that song or enjoy some other media that I think will enhance what you are reading and seeing in the comic itself. And I would definitely encourage you guys to stay tuned. If you guys haven't already, head over to swoldierpublishing.com. There should be active links for you to purchase cover A of Marcvs issue number 1. Now, we don't have actual covers. So what you're going to see there are some placeholders, but we will have at least 2 covers available, A and a B. The B cover is in the works. A cover will be in the works very soon. But part of what gave me a lot of confidence to talk about this now is the fact that we have a lot of work that's already been done. All the roughs are done, all the lettering is done, and now it's a thing of working on the pencils and the inks ultimately to deliver Marcvs issue number 1 by October, or in October is probably a better way to say it. There's some other things that we are going to be announcing along the way. Scott, in the Marcvs title, you use a Roman number. My wife asked me what was up with that Roman number, and I could not answer the question because it is Marcvs, but it is not spelled correctly. Can you talk about why there is a Roman number in Marcvs?
Sure. So the title is the name is spelled Marcvs. If you look, there's 2 reasons for that letter being there.
For
Number
the incorrect
1,
spelling. Two reasons for the incorrect spelling. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the first reason is the Romans didn't have the letter U. If you look at any of the etchings, coins, statues of Marcus Aurelius, who was one of the leaders of Roman people, it's always spelled as Marcvs.
Mm-hmm.
So the U was actually taken over by the V. The second reason is because three of our characters, Marcus, who is our main character, Cassius, who is the
other character,
and some people may have heard Pontius Pilate, all were part of the 5th Legion of Rome. So the V is also for the 5th Legion.
There we go. So the Romans couldn't spell, and you like history. That's basically what you just said to me. Okay, just wanted to check. 24 pages, I do believe, not including covers, black and white, at least 2 covers, an A and a B, maybe additional covers. It is $5.99, and right now we only have 1 package, and that is for cover A. Additional packages will be added a little bit later, but some really good stuff coming. I will tell you, trust me when I tell you, there are more announcements and more secrets that are going to be revealed. So stay tuned for that. Scott, where can people get a hold of you on the social media should they choose to track you down?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook, both as well. On Instagram, it's S Palochik, Palochik, and Facebook, it's just Scott Palochik. So
Palochik. I cannot say that very fast. I can't. For those people that ordered copies of Isolation issue 4, I'm going to be bundling those up, and you guys will be able to see the very first images of Marcvs issue number 1 in Isolation issue number 4. So read Isolation, and then you'll get to the very last page, and there is a nice little reveal there for you guys. Scott, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. It has been a pleasure working with you on this project. I'm going to let you go so that you can go talk to Chase or Beth or something like that and make sure we get this book done. But I will definitely reach out to you very soon, brother.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, and hope everybody takes a look at the pre-sales, and let's make this a success.
There we go. Talk soon.
Take care.
All right. So one of the other things that I did not mention to you guys is a couple of weeks ago, I actually submitted Isolation to Diamond. I submitted issues 1 through 4 of Isolation to Diamond for review. I am keeping my fingers crossed that they are actually going to choose to do distribution for Isolation 1 through 4 and hopefully beyond that. But what was really cool is that it appeared that some people from Diamond started to follow me on social media. So keep your fingers and toes crossed that they are indeed interested in carrying Isolation, because part of what I positioned to them is that we have more than 100 pages of content with Isolation ready to rock and roll. But we also have a second title, Marcvs, that is going to be coming as well. So fingers crossed that Diamond is indeed interested, decides to pick it up, because that it's literally like a dream come true. To Scott Polochek's point, I don't know how you read comics and collect comics without having at least a fleeting thought of trying to make your own comic. And we are in a position where we not just have one, but we have 2 comics that are one is complete, right? Several times over, and one is in the process of being completed. But to have more people be able to have these comics in their hand and read them because of distribution through Diamond would honestly be a dream come true. So fingers crossed that we can make some magic happen. And again, SwoldierPublishing.com is where you can actually pick up copies of Marcvs issue number 1, $5.99. Hopefully will be coming out in October, and there will be some additional details to be forthcoming for that. Again, spell check is a nightmare. Like, it literally is a nightmare for me anytime I write the word Marcvs, because it's always like, hey, you can't spell. What they don't realize is that the Romans can't spell. 5th Legion, they're part of the 5th Legion, and the Romans cannot spell. That was my takeaway from what they just said. Claiming fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed, man. I love tuning in to catch what you got. We got some good stuff back there. So for those that haven't figured it out, or maybe missed a show because I've been sick, the wall back there is a mixture of symbiotes and DC. It's a mixture of DC, Silver Age, and symbiotes. Everything back there is dealing with those 2 things. The Empire grows, man. Fingers crossed, brother. I'm honestly living the dream. I can't draw to save my life. And so I am very pleased to have an opportunity to work with some really talented writers. And we've assembled a team of really talented creators that collectively are working to bring this stuff to life. And it's amazing. I'll tell you, I went in initially and looked at the first 3 pages of the roughs, and I was honestly blown away. I was really blown away. And then to see page 1 final pencils, it's a striking page. It really is a striking page. I mean, I'm choking literally on something, but maybe I did get a little choked up as well. I'm scrolling through some of the comments here, see what else you guys are talking about. Yeah, man, it would be, I'll also tell you, I sent them an email today and I was like, hey, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I saw you followed me on social media. Is this a good sign or a bad sign? But no, I did message them and I was like, hey, just want to check in, see if there's anything you guys need from me. Let me know if you guys are looking at it and whether it's a positive decision or not. At least let me know something. Fingers crossed that we can actually make some magic happen, because it would be really cool again to see Isolation reach more people, and then eventually Marcvs to reach more people as well. Give me 1 sec here. I don't know what that was. Maybe it was because Scott left me. I got a little choked up on the inside. So one of the big things that has been in the news as of late consistently for the last little bit here is the notion that Disney is actually going to sell itself to Diamond. So I wanted to take a couple of moments to talk about that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't fully understand why people are pushing for this to happen, pushing for Disney to actually buy, Apple to actually buy Disney. I don't know why folks are pushing for that, but I found this really interesting article on the Hollywood Reporter that came out, I want to say today, And I want to share some excerpts from that and then also share some thoughts with you. And then if you guys, think that this is a good move or a bad move, I definitely want to encourage you to sound off in the comment section. Let me know what you think. A Disney sale to Apple, don't count it out this time. Scrolling down on this thing, a few weeks before, Bob Iger sat down for that CNBC interview in which he said Disney's linear TV networks like ABC and FX may not be core to the company's business. A veteran Hollywood executive mused to the Hollywood Reporter on the possibility of a deal that would rock the industry. Apple buying Disney. It's an idea that keeps being discussed all the way back to like 2006, even though many top executives have scoffed at it and still do, because it probably won't happen. Apple does not want to buy a studio, they say, and there's no way the feds would allow a huge deal like this to go through. But this observer, this what was this person? An executive? What did they say? It's a Hollywood executive. But the observer wasn't so quick to rule it out. I don't think Apple would buy the company as it presently exists. But if you see Bob Iger starting to divest things, that feels like he's prepping for a sale, and there's clearly no buyer like Apple. So what this guy did is he sat down with the Hollywood Reporter and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they actually did a deal that has been discussed for like 20 years? What would happen if they actually did it? Then Bob Iger, whose company is facing a lot of challenges, and you guys know what some of those challenges are, actually pulls the trigger and makes it known that he is going to sell off some assets that don't fit with the company, that are not profitable, potentially losing the money and weighing the company down. And the guy's like, hey, I told you so. I told you that this deal was going to happen. Not long after this executive sat down, Iger went on television and hung a possible for sale sign on the Disney TV business. There's clearly no buyer like Apple, which is sitting on $62 billion. $62 billion in cash and cash equivalents, and has a $2.8 trillion market cap. And while it may be very true that Apple doesn't want to buy a studio, maybe it would want to buy this studio, the one that, despite the challenges of the moment, has a vault full of priceless IP and remains the most valuable brand in entertainment. Think about that. Disney owns some amazing IP. Even if you set the Marvel IP to the side, the IP that Disney itself owns is impressive. And then you factor in the fact that Marvel has brought in $30 billion over whatever period of time. That is an impressive catalog that anybody would want to buy, to be honest. This article goes on to cite the fact that Bob Iger and Steve Jobs have had a long-standing relationship. They both served on the other company's boards. They had hinted previously that maybe Disney would have been bought by Apple if Steve Jobs had been alive. That was something that Bob Iger had hit on. That is essentially what people are pointing to as evidence that this deal could potentially happen. I personally feel like Disney would have to get a whole lot smaller. Like, they would have to sell off a whole lot of stuff, I think, for it to actually make sense. But here's the thing. Would that actually be a good thing? If Disney started to sell off assets in order to be acquired by Apple, would that be a good thing? You're talking about loss of opportunities for creators, potentially talking about loss of jobs. You're potentially talking about fewer options for consumers. Those are just some of the initial things that came to mind. The other thing that I thought about is potentially people are pushing for this deal because they don't like the politics of Disney, which I get. I completely get that. But is Apple better? Would Apple actually do things different or better than what Disney is actually doing, considering that both companies lean in the exact same direction? It's a thing of, you should be careful what you wish for, because what you get might not be what you want. That's my thought there. I don't know what people think about this. Let me see. If they sell off Marvel, then that's a problem for Marvel. I don't know. So is that the real Comics Explained in here? Because if so, we might all need to stand for royalty on the comic book YouTube machine, right? If that is you, sir, thank you for joining. That would probably be a problem, especially where things are right now. So let me scroll through. I'm not a fan of Apple owning Disney. I personally don't think that it would be a good move. I just don't think that it would be a good move. Blazing Asian grass isn't always greener on the other side. I'm having a hard time believing that having all of the historical TV movie characters owned by one company is a good thing. Not only does it do that, right? Stifle creativity, it's going to limit options for consumers. It's going to limit options for creators. And let's be honest, I don't even know if regulators would actually approve a deal of this sort. Yes, they do operate in divergent pieces of business. Yes, but when you think about the totality of what these two companies would control, if you think about where one sits with a streaming platform, where one sits with technology, where one sits with content, that would be a lot for other companies to have to deal with. And that's why I think the federal government would not let this happen. There are other deals out there that the federal government currently is pushing back on that do not amount to what is being discussed right now with a Disney Apple merger, acquisition, however you want to characterize it. I just don't think that it would be a good thing. Apple needs to focus on making iTunes less annoying. I Liger Style, I didn't know where you were going to go with that one, brother. I didn't know where you were going to go with that. I agree. If they do combine too much power in too few hands, and there are people that are actively thinking that this is a good idea, I personally just don't see it. Like, I did a video on this, or a reel or a short or something like that a couple of weeks ago. And I had a couple of people that were like, you're wrong about this. This is a very good thing. I personally do not see the upside for creatives, for consumers. I don't see the upside. I really don't. I don't even know if I see the upside for shareholders. I don't even know if it will be good for shareholders, to be honest with you. But it'll be interesting to see what actually happens with that, if this deal actually does move through. So I'm running a little long on this one, but I do want to get to a couple of comments that some of you have left on some videos recently in my last few minutes of time. One of the comments that someone left here was this one right here. Evolutionary Comics. He says, and this was on a video, Money Ruins Comics, and am I too focused on money? He says, you make a lot of great points in this video, and you're so right when it comes to what is most successful for comic book YouTube videos on YouTube. I have struggled as a content creator with the frustrations of gaining subscribers. I have often stated that CGC becomes a keyword to a popular video on YouTube. I hate that because even though I understand why, I feel like there is much more room for comic book based channels. I think that there is room for pure comic book reviews based upon the comic itself and not the monetary value of the comic. I don't get why that's not more popular. And this is very fitting with Comics Explained actually being in the room, because he has probably arguably one of the most popular channels on YouTube that actually talks about the comics themselves and not about the values of them. Evolutionary Comics goes on to say, am I doomed for failure as a YouTube comic content creator unless I change it up and talk about the monetary value of comics? My advice to him is no, I don't think that you're doomed, but you potentially have to stay true to yourself. But as part of that, in my mind, there is nothing worse than spending hours creating a video, editing a video, promoting a video to have it be watched by 50 people, right? So I think I said in my response to him, you may want to think about finding a balance between creating content that makes you feel good and content that gets viewed by people. And occasionally you're going to hit on this wonderful mixture where you do both of those things in the same video. not every video that comes out from my channel is focused on the dollars and cents. It just happens that I really enjoy that type of content. So I tend to do some of that, but I also try to balance the money with videos that just make me feel good, where I'm talking about head and heart, and I'm talking about how to be a better collector, and I'm talking about, you know, the state of the comic book community. There is a little bit of variety that you can build into your channel that makes you feel good, contributes to the hobby, but also, you know, plays up some of those popular themes that are being discussed by people in comics as a whole. So huge shout out to him. He's also a comic book grader from CGC. So I thought that was one of the things that was really interesting about his comment. There was a couple of comments here left from people on a video that I did about CPR, crack, press, and resubmit. Matt Woods, who is in the chat right now, says that CPRing has worked out well for him in the past. He was a guest on the show a couple of years ago talking about that very thing. I don't remember exactly what books he highlighted, but you can absolutely CPR a book and have the value of that book go up. But as I mentioned in that video, not every book is a good candidate for a CPR. So you definitely want to do your research. You definitely want to watch that video and pick up some of the tips that I make mention of. Randy Resnake comments here, I've had some success with CPR in the past with a couple of books. Sent in ASM 50, 4.0, got it back at a 5.0. ASM 20, 3.5, got it back at a 5.5. Like you said, it has to be the right book after you've identified the defects that can be fixed with a clean or a press. CPR is not a slam dunk. It is not a slam dunk. There is some risk there. I had somebody asking me about older labels and also PGX books, whether I would recommend they buy those books and do a CPR and get a higher grade. I caution them against that because there is some risk there. You cannot just willy-nilly buy books and expect to get a grade bump. You have to do your research. And if you haven't watched that video, I definitely want to encourage you guys to check that video out. A couple of more comments here. Let me go to get to this one real quick. This is a question on boosting the value, which is where I talked about CPR, increasing the value of your comics. Now, would you suggest having CGC do the clean and press or a third party? There are videos here on the channel where I actually talk about that. If you decide to hire a third party presser, there are things that you want to ask that third party presser before you send your books in. I personally use CGC. I've used both, but more often than not, I use CGC and I've had good results with them. Now, not everybody can say that. There are some people that have used CGC for pressing. They're completely dissatisfied with them. There are some people that have used third-party pressers that have had their books be damaged, which is me. So you want to definitely do your research. There are videos, again, here on the channel. If you search for Regie Collects Pressing, Regie Collects CGC Pressing, couple of videos that deal with those topics that you might find helpful. All right. So let me see. What is that? Reggie, you do a lot for the comic book community, including putting out both fantastic digital content and creative print content. I try, brother. I try. And you know, the thing is I honestly enjoy the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? I don't get a ton of satisfaction from my actual job. Like, and a lot of people could probably say that about their gig. The job is what the job is. The job feeds my family. But being able to do some of what I do in terms of creating content that helps the comic book community, being able to create comics with really talented people and help them live their dreams, that to me is really fun. And I'll tell you what's really awesome is that occasionally I see someone create a video that is based upon a video that I created. And I know for a fact that they watch my video, or I see somebody showing books that they recently bought, and in the photo or the video, the technique that is used to bundle up those comics is a technique that I introduced in a video. Or to hear somebody clean and press a comic and get a really good grade on that comic. Those are those little moments that make me feel good about the content that I've created. And I've created some good content. I've created some not so good content. But I think my heart's always in the right place when I create this stuff. And I hope that it is impactful to the people that watch it and that it's beneficial to them. That is the goal at the end of the day. So huge shout out again to Scott to Scott P, who came on the show to talk about the new comic that we are dropping as part of Swoldier Publishing, Marcvs. Issue number 1 is available right now on swoldierpublishing.com. Fingers crossed that in the next few weeks we can reveal some of the covers that we are going to be doing. But the comic is available right now for pre-sale. I hope you guys will support it. And for everybody that placed an order for Isolation issue 4, those are now in hand and will be coming out very soon, as quickly as I can bundle these things up. All right, with that said, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. As always, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you are here and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I definitely want to encourage you to do that. And if you want to reach out to me, you can do that on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
Straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms with pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combinations, you flying, we waiting. Indian style in the gold temple of greatness. When you follow the North Star, you coming for the education. This is my audio book. These rhymes are just the imagery, more like an audiographic novel or a memoir about a young MC making timeless music with his mentor. I pray I grasp my letters, nothing was meant to last forever.